Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. It is election season. Early voting will begin pretty quickly. It's coming up. If you haven't registered to vote, well, that's already passed. You can't do it now. You got to wait until a little bit later on. At least, well, you're going to have to wait till the general election because you won't be able to vote in the primary. And joining us in studio right now to talk about his campaign, another candidate for the 99th District Court, Mark McBrayer, in studio with us here on the Chad Hasty Show. Good morning.
Glad to be here with you, Chad. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Tell folks a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to run for the 99th District Court.
Well, I'm a longtime resident of Lubbock, lived here over 60 years, and I have been before I was an attorney, I've been an attorney now for 17 years. Before that, I spent 17 years owning two different businesses here in town, one of which still is in existence, J&B Coffee Company. I don't still own it. I sold it when I got out of law school, but it's still a great place to go and get a cup of coffee if you want one. And before that, I'm also an ordained Baptist minister. I was a youth minister before I got married, but at the point I got married, I decided to go into business. I didn't want to become a full-time pastor. I joke with people I didn't want to deal with church politics, but here I am now running for a political office. But I started out working with young people, youth evangelism, and I loved that very much. Young people are very important to me. But my business experience, I think, is kind of unique. It's given me a different perspective than someone, say, who's been an attorney all their life when it comes to running for a judge. You learn to meet your customers' expectations, and you have to understand what that is. And I tell people, I said, the customers of the court system are not the attorneys, contrary to what a lot of people think. It's really the citizens of a county who want that court to stand for certain things, and they want to know that the judge is there and understands his job is to protect their God-given and constitutionally guaranteed rights and to see that the law as written is faithfully applied and people are treated fairly and with respect. And so that's, one of the reasons I am running is because I feel like my experiences over the years have made me very well qualified to be a judge and to have that kind of an understanding and a temperament that would make me well suited to be a judge of the 99th District Court.
For those who may not know too much about the 99th District Court, what type of cases would be going through that court?
Well, that court is a court of general jurisdiction, which means any kind of case could come before that court. But the district courts in Lubbock County have agreed by an agreement, said that 3 of the courts will handle mostly criminal matters and 3 of the courts will handle mostly civil matters. So this is one of the courts that handles primarily civil matters like business disputes, personal injury lawsuits, family law cases, employment law cases, maybe administrative actions between citizens and county or city governments and things like that. So that's what this court does primarily. And that's the kind of law that I practice too.
I was about to ask you to talk about your legal background and how that would apply here.
Okay, well, I am a partner in the law firm of Crenshaw, Dupree, and Milam, which is a great law firm here in Lubbock, Texas. Been around for over 100 years, has great lawyers, highly respected. I think probably one of the most respected law firms in all of West Texas. It's produced some great attorneys, produced some great judges, and so I practice primarily in in civil matters. Employment law is one of my major things, business litigation. I do some oil and gas. I've only recently become involved in that, but one of the largest cases I've ever been involved in my life is an oil and gas matter right at the moment. I've done family law cases as well. So all those kind of things are things that could come before the 99th District Court.
When people are looking at the ballot and they're looking for who to vote for in this primary, what would you say is the issue or one or two issues that separate you from your opponents? Is it the business background?
Well, that is something unique about me. No one else has been a small business owner like I have been, and I think that just gives me a set of experiences in life that makes it different from people who have always viewed the courts from the eyes and through the eyes of an attorney. Mm-hmm. So I think that is different. I'm the only one who is running in this race. There's 4 of us running for the 99th District Court. I'm the only one who clerk for a federal judge, which is a real position, a real high honor. You have to be one of the top graduates in your law school class to get that appointment. I clerk for Judge Sam Cummings, who is a great model and mentor to me of what a good conservative judge does. He is a very conservative and very efficient judge in how he handles his courtroom and his docket. People jokingly call it the rocket docket, because if something gets set for trial in his court, it's going to trial on that date. And he holds attorneys to that. And that's good for the parties who are before the court. Litigation, that's one thing you learn as a business person. I'm always aware as a lawyer, litigation is hard and it's expensive. And so I think a judge owes it to the parties before the court to be very efficient in how he runs that docket.
When it comes to, and I'm sure one of the questions that you get when campaigning and talking to folks is about judicial philosophy. What would you, how would you categorize your philosophy?
I think the best statement of it, Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch said a couple of months ago in an interview. He says a judge's job is to be faithful to the Constitution at all times, nothing more, nothing less. That's your baseline commitment as a judge. And I think that's what the voters in Lubbock County expect the judge to do, is to be faithful to the Constitution, to make sure that the judge is there and understands his role is to protect the citizens' God-given and constitutionally guaranteed rights, and to make sure that the law is applied as written, not as the judge would prefer it to have been written, and to make sure that the parties before the court are treated fairly and with respect. And so that's what I believe, and that's what I learned from Judge Cummings, but it's also what I believed long before I ever went to clerk for him. But I learned how that plays out in actual practice by working for him as his law clerk. You
were endorsed by retired Texas Supreme Court Justice Phil Johnson. Talk about that endorsement and what that meant to you.
That means a lot to me. Phil was recently honored by the Lubbock area Republican women for his years of service as a conservative justice, and he's always stood for that. And he is a prime example of someone who understands a judge's role is to apply the law as written, not to interpose his own interpretation there. And so when I got his endorsement, it meant a lot to me. I mean, he could have endorsed any of the people in this race. So his endorsement means a lot to me.
Tell folks how they can find out more about you, if you have a website, Facebook page, any of that, where they can find out more.
Yeah, on Facebook. It's fun to be on Facebook and get interactions back and forth with folks. That's McBrayer for Judge, and McBrayerforJudge.com online if you want to go there. Or they can call me at 781-7619. I love talking to people. I'm here asking for people's vote. And I consider that to be a real honor and a privilege to ask people to give me their vote. And so I want to talk to folks, and I want to explain to them why I'm running, why I think I'm qualified, and why I deserve their vote.
Mark McBrayer, candidate for District Judge, 99th District Court. Appreciate your time, and thanks for stopping in today.
Thank you too, Chad. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.